What is it?
Coming clean. Men and women and how they cannot share empathetically. Stop using boundaries, guys. I'm Cass.
And I'm Kathryn.
You tell them how you feel, you tell them the situation, and you tell them what they need, expressing positive need.
Today, the episode is Connection. We're not so different.
We're Morrow Marriage.
Let's flip divorce statistics with the new marriage. Welcome to the Morrow Marriage podcast, guys. And today I want to talk about something that is going to just freak the crap out of a lot of you.
What is it?
Coming clean.
Ooh.
What I mean by this is I cannot tell you the amount of men that I deal with who you try to hide something that you've done. So maybe that's like something that you said, you try to cover it up, you dig your hole deeper, or maybe it's a coping mechanism. You're pretending.
Drinking, smoking, porn, lying,
that's
gambling.
Right. Prostitutes. We talked heavily about a man in the program last night, late when James got into town. And we were talking about this man in our program who he's not exactly telling me the same thing that he's telling James. And the problem with that is if we don't know all the information, we can't help you. And this goes so much deeper than just being helped. Okay. So being honest and transparent in your relationship. If you're withholding, if you are lying, if you are covering up your tracks, it's not always like cut and dry. It's not always. It's like sometimes you're just actually super afraid. Okay. Now there's a few things about this. We all know that if we lie, that we can't actually get somewhere. We can't move forward, right? We also know that if we feel bad, we probably know better. Okay. But sometimes we'd be super afraid. There were things that I told you that hurt you that nobody needs to hear, but that hurt you so badly that it affected you for years, right? And for so long, I didn't want to, I could have undone that pain or allowed her the chance to heal from that pain if I just would have told her the truth, And what I've learned from the men in the program is simple, that it can be scary. I'm going to use an example in my mind of a man.
Not even can be, it is scary.
Oh, yeah, it's terrifying, right? You think that if you tell them the truth, this man that I'm thinking of in the program, a different man, he would just go find women and sleep with them every month. And this went on for, I think, approximately 13 months, where it was a new woman every month. And it was so that he could feel love and validation instead of addressing the fact that he wasn't obviously healing his marriage or moving his marriage forward. Okay. And he obviously wasn't overcoming this need for validation. He couldn't fill his own cup. Okay. And so when he finally came clean with us, it was, say 6 months into the program or something like that. Well, no shit, things are going slower at home. If that's a big lie that you're hiding, there are so many little lies that you're using to cover up and you're not coming clean. And so you're literally just holding yourself back. You are one big giant anchor for your future. Now he was afraid. And I'm like, dude, you need to go talk to your wife and tell her the truth. Because we are men of integrity. Even if we've made a mistake, that's the only way to move it forward. Okay. So he does, and check it. She doesn't leave. You use the tools in the relationship. She doesn't say, fine, it's over. Some of you listening would say, forget that. But it's so much deeper. Go back and listen to the episodes on cheating. There's so much more going on here. And it's also not always that easy to leave, whatever the thing is that you're dealing with. Okay. There's something really powerful that you need to understand. And that is that you will never actually learn to fill your cup, to feel confident, to be proud of the person that you are if you don't come clean. I like to use our story as an example.
I have an example too.
Okay, why don't you start?
So you probably remember, you guys may or may not know this. I think I've said bits and pieces here and there publicly, but I used to use recreational drugs. I was a party animal before I met my husband. And I got wrapped up in some people I shouldn't have and some situations I shouldn't have. And he was the catalyst to get me to stop using cocaine. And in the first couple of years of our marriage, even though I wasn't regularly using it anymore, I wasn't partying anymore, I wasn't going out and doing it on the weekends, I completely gave it up because it wasn't an addiction. But it was still one of the things I would fall back on. So if we would get in a fight, if I took off for the night, met up with a friend, I would end up using cocaine. And he would ask me, hey, did you do drugs last night? Did you do any drugs? Who'd you meet up with? And I would lie. And so for the first few years, I don't remember when it was that I came clean to you, but I remember
Eden Terrace.
Yeah, I know where we lived, but I don't know when exactly it was. I think maybe it was after we had kids.
I think.
And I ended up saying, hey, I have something to tell you. And it's been eating away at me since we got married. And he's terrified. He thought I was going to tell him that I was cheating. But I was so scared. My heart was racing, but I could not. It was eating away at me knowing that there was a handful of times that I had lied to my husband. It would keep me up at night sometimes, because it's just one of those things where you can't heal and move forward if you have this thing that you're holding on to. And when I told him, this is before we had any of our growth, by the way. So yeah, this would have been probably 2019 or 2020 before we saved our marriage. And so things were not good, but I still needed to get it off my chest, and it didn't go well.
So for example, this is the time where we're fighting a lot less, but sometimes we're fighting and they're big blow ups. And this set me off.
It really did.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine not telling him, because then can you imagine still carrying a lie? And that's some of you are probably very intrigued by this episode, because coming clean is very difficult. It's scary. Your heart's going to race. You don't know what the reaction of your partner is going to be. Is your partner going to leave you? Is your partner going to get aggressive with you? Is your partner going to stonewall you? What is going to happen? It's the unknown that's scary. It's not scary to not hold secrets. It's great to not hold secrets, because that is heavy and it weighs on you. But that was the example I wanted to give. It was scary, but we got over it.
I want to give you something so powerful here too. The moment, we talk about value all the time. The moment you understand this, you're going to learn to be able to present a whole lot of value. If you think about it, okay, when we started this business, we were doing a lot better. Like I wouldn't say it's a supercharged yet, but it was like
financially or what?
Like with us together, we were not doing better financially yet, right? Because we lost the gym and everything.
I think what I heard you say was when we started this business, we were doing a lot better than we are now.
Oh, no. Oh. I mean, like our journey, our progression was doing so much. Like our marriage
better
was
than
so
we were
much
before.
Stronger. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, I was not willing to talk about how bad of a man I was. But I went on social media and started saying, well, you can get away from a sexless marriage if you do this, right? And essentially, I mean, that got us started. But here's what happened. It was eating at me to not tell the truth about who I was. And I can't really go back in time and think about why, but I know that it just happened. And I started to say to Kathryn, I have to tell more of our story. I have to tell more of the truth, because to understand, to pick up your intimacy, you have to address some of these deeper issues. Here's what happened. You start saying you emotionally abused your wife, you sexually assault her, you talk about a restraining order, you get a lot of people giving a lot of hate, okay? But here's what happens. By coming clean, okay, I started to feel better because I wasn't that man anymore. So it didn't matter what people were telling me, because I could see a black and white between who I was and where I was going. I'm never going to say I'm there. That's my whole thing, right? You're never your best version. You're always rising. But releasing the truth about how much I'd hurt Kathryn allowed me to release the shame, allowed me to release the guilt, allowed me to let go of all the harm that I put on Kathryn, right? And instilled on Kathryn when I destroyed her back then. And, even today, I'll make a post and it might get 5 million views. And there'll be DMs, nasty DMs from women saying your wife should just leave you. A man made a comment on one that I did this week, and that's what he said. What would make your wife even want to talk to you now? Blah, blah, blah. And, that one might not have been nasty because there's no tone. I can't really tell. It might just be a clear and honest question. And you see, you don't have the need to become defensive about who you used to be. I just simply use what I teach in my program, stat response. And I would say something like, yeah, I completely understand. Potentially something's happened in your life. I don't know, but I can see why you would feel like my wife should leave me. That was directly at a woman who was commenting on, how could you, like, what's the matter with your wife to let your kids still be with you and blah, 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 blah. But I quickly validated that because she's not wrong, but I don't agree with it. And what do I want? I want her to follow along the example and help us interrupt people's thought process and disrupt divorce. So I follow it with, I feel really blessed that we have the opportunity to share where we were and where we are now to be in 101 countries, thanks to you guys in this podcast, and actually inspiring you to move forward. I couldn't do any of that if I was still holding on to the shame and the guilt. Because otherwise, what would I be doing? I'd be getting defensive. And I'd be telling this woman, well, you're fucking crazy. I'm a fucking great guy now. What's the matter with you? That's just who I was. Stop judging me, blah, 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 blah. Right? the power of coming clean sets you free. This is the person that can then, like when using Kathryn's example, now she can sleep. You know, it was scary. And
It's a barrier to connection when you're keeping something from your partner.
100%.
No matter what it is, whether it's an addiction, and there's all kinds of addictions that you guys are holding from your partners and you're not telling your partner. Some of you don't want to give it up or don't know how, but some of you don't want to tell them because you're afraid of their reaction, like my example. You cheated, or maybe you didn't go as far as cheating, but you have an inappropriate relationship with someone of the opposite sex, or you've been looking at someone of the opposite sex with lust and desire when your heart is with your partner. You don't want to come clean about it because you're afraid. No matter what it is, there's something in you that's preventing you from doing it, and that is preventing you from connecting with your partner. Maybe it's not like losing sleep like I was and just feeling so terrible, but you're not as intimate as you think you are if you're not sharing the issues that you have. Because when you expose the issues within yourself, no matter who it's to, that's when you can have the opportunity to heal. And who do you want to heal with? Partner. You want to heal together.
Exactly, baby. You have
like scar tissue, heal together.
That's right. You have to understand, if you want more for yourself, you can't disconnect from who you are. And if you're feeling ashamed, if you're feeling guilty, even if you don't realize it, because you're sweeping it under the rug and saying, well, I'll use an example of a man from a call maybe a month ago. And he said, in the beginning, I was seeing 3 women and it just bothers me. But she doesn't need to know. I said, bullshit. Because he's still carrying the shame. He just is pretending, he's tricking himself into thinking, well, she hasn't figured out, she doesn't know, so there's no point to do it. It's still affecting you. If it's affecting you, you can't actually grow. You can't think the same way. You can't process the same way. Therefore, you can't respond in the way that you want to go, which is never going to breed the connection that you want. You're only breeding disconnection. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay, guys, go get clean. Doesn't sound good.
No.
Get ready to come clean with your partner.
Bye.
See ya.
Yeah.